Ira closed the gate to the white picket fence and turned to get a good look at the dark brown two-story house he had grown up in. It had been 15 years since he had been back in his hometown. The day he had boarded the train to New York, bound for college, had been the happiest of his life, and now, at 33 years old, he was back. Just for a few months, he told himself, until Dad gets better and I clear my head. With a large suitcase in each hand and a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, he made his way up the snowy pathway, climbed the steps, and, not allowing himself to hesitate, pushed the doorbell. Almost instantly the door opened, and an older lady wrapped in a long, perfectly knitted red and gold holiday shawl stood silhouetted in the doorway. "Hello, Ira." "Hello, Mother." "You've put on weight," she said matter-of-factly. The chill of his walk from the bus station had already turned his cheeks red, so the flush of heat warming his face went unnoticed. She moved aside and motioned him in. "I prepared the guest room. Your old room." "How's Dad?" "The same. Best let him sleep until dinner." With that, she went into her sewing room. When he was finally behind the closed door of his old room, he let out a sigh of relief. He quickly unpacked, which meant hastily shoving things into dresser drawers and placing his empty suitcases into the closet, which was almost completely full of neatly stacked storage boxes. He began to change out of his wet clothes, taking the time to pick out something warm and comfortable but that might not draw his mother's scrutiny. He pulled on a pair of sweatpants, almost falling over trying to get into them, and a long-sleeved flannel shirt. Dressed, he tossed his dirty clothes into the hamper and turned to sit on the side of the bed. As he did, he looked out the window, which looked directly at the house next door. It took him a few moments to register the other house, then the window directly opposite his, then the man standing in the window looking at him. He stood straight up off the bed, his heart racing quickly. Oh, my God! He had just flashed the neighbor. He stepped up closer to the glass, about to try to make gestures of an apology to the man before he thought he was some sort of pervert. But closer to the glass, he realized this wasn't just any man. It was Colton McCabe. A cold shiver ran up his spine, and his embarrassment turned to anger as he grabbed the curtains and pulled them closed. The house next door once belonged to his parents' best friends, the McCabes, who had moved there when Ira was 12 years old. Both families had expected Ira and the McCabe's son, Colton, who was only a few months older than Ira, to become best friends just as their parents had. But this had not been the case, and the blame fell mostly on Ira, who, as he entered his teen years, was labeled as odd and a loner. The reality, however, was that Colton, the golden boy next door, the son every parent wished for, the hottest and most popular guy at school, was a relentless bully. By the time they entered high school, Ira became his main target. Living next door made the situation even worse, as they waited at the same bus stop, were dropped off in the same place, and shared at least 3 of the same classes each year. If being bullied by the boy next door wasn't bad enough, one warm summer day, Ira was sitting by the same window, looking out at the McCabe's backyard pool and wishing his family had their own. There were several guys horsing around in the water, and then Colton walked out of his house, stripped down to a Speedo like the professional swimmers wore, and began rubbing suntan lotion all over himself. Ira could have sworn it happened in slow motion. Not only was he relentlessly bullied by Colton, but his bully had also become the focus of almost every high school masturbatory fantasy he had ever had. 2 years after Ira left for college in New York, the McCabe parents had been killed while driving through Europe. Not having any other family, Ira's parents took Colton under their wings. That included his mother hiring him to work in her curio and gift shop as her assistant, learning the business from the ground up. The boy who had been his greatest nemesis was now business partners with his mother. And he had just flashed him his naked butt. Thanks, universe. Thanks for making this one more entry in craptastic adventures of this last year.